Hello, everyone. Suzanne Hacker here again. Welcome to the Welcoming All Inclusive Hosting Virtual Summit session on disability writing. And I am so excited. There is so much information to share with everyone here with this, and you may not think there is, but you are going to learn different. So we are here with Lia, who is an expert on disability writing, but I want her to tell you her background and what she does and why she's an expert. So Lia, please introduce yourself and let us know.
Hi, Susan. Thanks so much for having me. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
be here. So my name is Lia Stoll. I'm a light-skinned woman with blonde shoulder-length hair, and I'm wearing eyeglasses and a green sweater, and I'm sitting in front of a white paneled background. So I'm founder of Disability Writer, and my background is guide dogs and mobility and orientation, and teacher for blind and partially sighted people. I've been founder of Disability Writer for 4 years now. It's a boutique content writing studio that focuses on empowering accessibility and inclusion through content. And I dab into social media accessibility too.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, if you could explain to our attendees, if you could explain why you described yourself, your light skin, your hair, your glasses, please explain to us why that was important.
Sure. So for a person who is blind or partially sighted, it's important to know who they're speaking to or to have an image of the video description so they can have a better picture of it. And it's inclusive by doing it that way. So you're not excluding them from the get-go instead of them just listening to a voice that they've got nothing else to put into context. It's
Right.
definitely more inclusive to describe yourself and your surroundings.
So I should start over and I should be like, I'm a light-skinned, shoulder length, blonde hair, wearing a
Mhm.
red top, and
Yeah,
I am posting this against a light blue background that hopefully works for people.
yeah.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so let's then talk about listing descriptions first, because I think that's such an important topic for people to understand why this is important to think about from that disability writing perspective. So in our vacation rental listings, we get all sorts of opportunity in just our listing description to describe the home or the apartment or room, and we
Mhm.
get to tell people what they're getting or where they're staying. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that just a little bit. What would your best advice be on that?
Yeah, definitely to describe it in as much detail as possible. So the person reading it can be able to visualize it in their mind. So if you've got photos added, which most listings do, to make sure that apart from the alt text description, which I'm hoping you are able to add on, because I'm not sure if all these platforms are accessible enough in that sense. So especially if the alt text is not there, to be able to have a written description for each of your photo, even a description for your video. Videos should also have captions if there is speaking involved,
Yeah.
and a transcript as well accompanying any video
Okay.
recording
Okay.
speaking.
Awesome. No, that's great. So really describe our space to the fullest
Yeah,
and
yeah,
really spend time describing each picture and don't get lazy about it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So then let's say we have a website. Let's talk in particular about websites because,
Yeah.
some of us, we may design our own, or,
Hmm.
we may use platforms like Wix or GoDaddy
Yeah.
or some of those other ones that are out there. And we put our own website up and then we tie that with our direct booking,
Yeah.
platform. So can you give us, some what would you tell us to make sure
Yeah.
that we do with our
Web
websites?
accessibility, web accessibility is a big thing, and it's actually it's still that the 85% of websites worldwide are not fully as much as possible, they're not accessible. And I have to say, when I started out, I I wanted to get my services out there as fast as possible. So I used a web building what is
So
you can cut
you
that
you
out.
so you used a
I
so you
used
built it yourself
Yeah, I
or did
used
okay,
Wix, for example.
you used Wix, yep.
Um, and and I tried to make it as accessible as possible myself, because you
Okay.
do get some accessibility features
Yeah.
within these web building platforms, and you can do some things with them. Um, but when I did hand it over then to our co-founder, who is blind, we realized that there are issues that are hanging, and there are issues that I can't fix because of the web building
Ah,
platform. So I could not change that. And I could start over again by using another one, but that would have taken me, because it's not my area of expertise per se,
yeah.
uh, ages. So I did the best thing that's ever happened to me is I handed it over to Access by Design, Clive Losaby. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard of him. And he, was able with his team to redo it and create for me an
Wow.
accessible website. And it for them, it's such a relatively easy thing to do.
Okay.
And for me now, it also feels so good because I know that my website is as accessible as it can be. And
Yeah.
this is important when we're talking about inclusive hosting. Your website is the front window of your business. You want to be inclusive. And if your website is not inclusive, and I'm not just talking about the alt text for the photos or the images
Right.
that you have, um, but there's so many background layers to it. The color contrast, being able for the person to be able to use the screen reader. Um, it's a lot of technicalities that
Yeah.
your average website builder is not going to cover.
Sure.
So yeah, I advise people to take a look at their websites and reach out to disabled people who do this job as well. Reach out to businesses that do
Sure.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, because we just think like we're all about pretty. We want to show off our
Yeah.
houses and our properties, and we're like, oh, these pretty pictures, we use all these colors without
Yeah.
realizing that there is a large segment of the population who can't even look at the website or can't use the website.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be like, never mind, I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Awesome.
I mean, it is a huge number of people who would like to access your business and can't.
Right. Okay.
Not only are you not being inclusive by doing that, you're also losing out on potential business. So,
Right. It's a good point. Yep. Okay. So then let's pivot over to social media because you do a lot of work with social media and making it more
yeah,
accessible. So
I sort
tell us.
I got I got addicted to it. Between my friend who is blind and
Oh,
me trying to get started on LinkedIn 3 years ago, she got me hooked onto this, and now I sort of can't look back.
sure.
Um, and I think this what the saddest thing is that there is so much inaccessible social media
Yeah.
content.
Okay.
And you tell people to try and do better, you show people, and they do make the effort, but it's not consistent.
Sure.
And I think this needs this is a topic that needs to be approached and talked about a lot more often by many, many people.
Okay. So
Mm.
tell us, what's the first thing that we
Well,
should do when we look at our
for
social media
example,
content?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, so I'm going to dab there. I'm on Instagram, but I don't use it so much.
Okay.
So LinkedIn, for example, by writing your posts, I'll start off by when you're writing your block of text to make sure you space it out so there are white spaces in between because people with dyslexia, so for example, or ADHD like me, are able to concentrate better on it, to focus better on it. Now, this is where things do tend sometimes to bump into each other. So somebody with uh, dyslexia, it's good when they've got the smileys or the colors, something to keep them engaged in the content that
Okay.
they're reading. Um, for me, if there is a lot of smileys going on there, it drives me insane. I just I can't handle it. But for somebody, for example, who is blind and using a screen reader or voiceover, if you're using your smileys, make sure you sprinkle them across your text
Okay.
um, and put them at the end of your sentence, not at the beginning.
Okay.
Avoid using them as bullet points is definitely one thing that I see quite a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And um, when you add your images, make sure apart from the alt text, which LinkedIn's offers, and you can put in your alt text, make sure to put in an image description of the image that you have, either in your body or if the body of your text is too large, you could add it into the comments section below. And this is because for clients people who are deaf, blind, and don't use a screen reader, they will not be able to access your alt text description anyways. And in that case, if you're putting the description in your alt text box in your post or in your comments, you're making it as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, which
Okay.
is what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So we can still use our pictures, but we need to make sure we're describing them fully.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
and not just being like, okay, well, there's a picture of a house.
No,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. It would be,
We need
yeah,
to describe that house.
exactly. Give a description, so we say ask the person next to you to close their eyes and read out the description and see if they can imagine what it is that you're talking about. And if they can relate the picture back to you, then you're doing a good job. The other
I
important thing
love
is for videos, this should also be done. It's very good to add a video description of what your video is about. And possibly wherever it depends on what social media platform you're on, the transcript as well.
Sure. Wow. Okay. It's a lot, but it's such good, valuable.
It is a lot. It's a lot, especially for people who don't know about it, who are learning. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
It gets better, the more you do it. And it's a work in progress. So
Okay.
it's not like we start and it has to be perfect. It'll never
Right.
be perfect.
Right.
I make mistakes as well. But we're trying. We're trying our best. We're trying our best to be inclusive, and
Right.
that's what counts.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us about like photos or, um, different backgrounds. Are there different backgrounds? You mentioned, like the text kind of spread out and, a lot of
Mhm.
more white space. Is that the case too with like pictures of people or spaces, things like that? Can you talk to us a little about that?
I didn't quite get the question. People and
So,
place.
is there, how do I put this? So like, is it important for like us to be sitting against a light background, like as
Oh,
people. Talk
okay.
about that.
Yeah. Okay. So color contrast.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It depends on the context again. So it depends on where you are, but definitely a more brighter, natural light background is a lot better than dark, gloomy, gloomy backgrounds. Um, but for images, definitely color contrast is something that we need to watch out for. And there are websites that offer that. Um, we can put those on
Yeah, we'll include those in the
yeah,
notes.
exactly, include those in the
Yes.
for people. But color contrast is important because if you've got a really um, a darkish background with equally dark letters, it's very difficult to read. Or what I see quite often is a very light background with pastel light letters above, which, you know, looks good, but even I have to sort of, you know, go have a closer look at what it is that I'm reading.
Yeah,
Yeah,
understand. All
definitely.
right. So what else do we want to make sure that we do to be more inclusive in our listings and our social media content?
I think one of the best things to do is to reach out to people who are disabled and learn from them, open up, ask them questions, get to know them, and learn. It's a learning process for all of us, and we can't be expected to know everything. But you know, they're they're open and they'll appreciate it even more.
Sure. I love that. So tip number one,
Yeah,
reach out to people and get
definitely.
feedback and have them like what you were saying, like,
Yeah.
us give them the description or even, close your eyes and give the description of something. Now, can you picture it based on that description? That's
Yeah.
fabulous. All right. What's another super important
Mm.
tip for people? So, like, if they were going to go to your website, is there, what do you have for people that we can get to give us more teaching?
What do I have for people? Oh,
You have a download, right?
I do. I forgot about it.
So, so we can get a download from you that would
You can
help us
get a
even
download
more.
for me, right? Okay, so
Tell us about that. How do we
this
find that? I love it.
this this tiny guidebook, right? So I got tired basically of always adding these little tips to everybody
Yeah.
and also keeping a list myself. And I kept mixing it up and having to go back forth and look for things. And then one day I know I woke up, it was a Saturday morning, it was very early, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, I'm just going to put it all together
Love it.
in a, you know, in a little thing, and I'm going to call it a little social media guidebook. And so that's, yeah, exactly. So I've created your no accessible social media content, question
Okay.
mark, and then your number one guidebook to accessible social media content. And that's on my
Awesome.
website for you to download for free.
Awesome. So how do
And
we find your website? Let's make sure we tell people who
yeah,
are, attending our summit here today. How do they find that? Give us your website. Tell us how they can get that.
so that's www.disabilitywriter.com. And it's right there on the homepage. You can
Awesome.
scroll down. You'll have to so sign in, give your name and your email address. No spam, I promise. And with it, you get bi-weekly disability tidbits. Yeah, with just a few tips every 2 weeks to help you on your
Help us on our journey
yeah.
to be more inclusive with our content
Yeah.
and our
And
social
I
medias.
exactly. And I always say if you see anything that you think needs changing or you have any difficulties accessing, whether it's a site or the book, or even within the book, because technology is always changing, so actually a lot of is evolving, and I do try to update it. I've tried to do it twice a year. But if you see anything in there that, you think, oh, wait, no, that's different and it's not like that now, please get back to me. I'm open for the feedback and I welcome it.
Okay, so that was www.disabilitywriter.com.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm dropping that in the chat right now for everybody just to make sure that they have that so that they can see that and they can head right over to your website. So you'll probably be getting some downloads of this from people, which is fabulous. And
I
thank you
better
for
go
putting
check
that
everything's
together.
working out.
Right? Okay, hurry, go do that. Awesome. Okay, Leah, is there anything else that we need to tell people today that we didn't touch on?
I want to say thank you to everybody who has come and to everyone who's interested in becoming more inclusive. Interested, it's coming from the heart. So thank you very much for that. And I would just like to say that it's not just about us and it's not just about our business. It's not just about the service dogs. It's also about our future. So our children and the kind of disability inclusive future I know I would like for my son to have, and I hope for everyone else as well who will feels the same.
Yeah. Awesome. Such a good point. Well, thank you so much for taking your time with us today and to, really share your wisdom on this topic. I
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having
you
me.
joining us today.
Thanks.